we have to?
COVID. Let's talk about COVID. Wow, where do we start? So I think obviously we started officially talking about version 2, as it's now named, in the October-November when I first got involved in the business, and at the time it was when the unit above where we're sat today became available, and we had plans, we were going for it, we wanted to move, and then this thing started that no one knew what was going to happen, but I think it took us completely, well, as it probably did everyone, that all of a sudden we were going into lockdown, and I remember us having a conversation. So first there was 2 or 3 things that we had to take into account here. There was one, we were actively trying to build a gym and move our business to the next level. But then there was 2, our existing members and the impact of us potentially having to close the gym. And at the time we didn't know what financial support was going to be available and everything else. And we had some really tough conversations of, do we stop? What do we do about existing members? Do we just, we wanted to help them and freeze the memberships, but if we completely lost all our income, we'd go under. I remember it being a very stressful time, but I remember us coming together and saying, this is also possibly one of the greatest opportunities for us to build. And that by that point, they were talking about help for businesses in terms of, there was like the bounce back loans. I don't think that had been announced yet, but there was the sort of grant money that local councils were giving, and we applied and got a small chunk of money, and that helped us get through the months where we froze people's memberships. Again, we were overwhelmed by the support of our members who said that they would keep paying, and I think if it come back, like, don't get us wrong, like, we got some money from the government, but without the money from our members, we would have gone under.
Yeah, we were. Genuinely, I'm not just saying that. And Jack said we were overwhelmed. Like, that's an understatement. I think on a percentage level, we had probably over 70% of members like continue to pay their memberships, which just like goes to show when we talk about community and everything like that, is by far it was the most unbelievable experience, and people see like we didn't just waste that money and stuff like that. We reinvested as much as we could, and it was overwhelming experience. But I think actually we have to rewind this a little bit, because when the opportunity for this upstairs unit came available, we obviously tried to market ourselves as much to take as much business as we could at the time. You got to take advantage of that kind of situation. And we actually had, honestly, at the time, I remember we were at about the 70 member mark when the gym upstairs closed, because we had a few people come to us. So we had about 70 members or so in that January kind of time. And in March, that was when we were told to close. Like, every business, I don't know whether it was in the UK, but it was definitely England, were forced to close. So, we went from having a decent uptake in January, and we were applying all this kind of stuff, to then literally having to close in March. And like Jack said, we then had a strict time period of about 3 to 4 months when we opened, I believe it was July.
Yeah, I think it was July the 20th.
It was like late July.
It was the official opening date of all gyms when we were allowed to reopen.
Yeah, but obviously we reopened in a brand new unit with more machines, more investment, new website, new content, everything. We did it as best as we physically could. But then obviously COVID hits again,
Yeah, then there was the whole, if people remember, the wonderful tiering system. That was a challenge in itself, because Warrington was actually a different tier, like score number to Manchester and Liverpool.
It was actually a different tier to Widnes.
Yeah.
And for those of you probably maybe watching this, you don't know how close that is. It's literally within 15-minute drive, and we were a different tier. So all of these gyms closed in Widnes, but we stayed open. So we had this huge fluctuation of members just come in. But for us, we're all about, like we say, that membership experience. So straight away we were like, we need to close memberships off. and because of COVID, we had restrictions on the amount of people in the gym at one time and everything, which we still have to this day, to be fair, just to again improve membership experience.
But it was the challenge of, again, in still a period where there was still fear around COVID, and we were still, certain areas were under restrictions, and then we were having to, as a business owner, you don't think that you're going to have to police a pandemic. Like, in what world do we know how to deal with that?
Yeah.
But we were then trying to do the right thing. You've got people coming from Liverpool who were technically in the tier 3, so shouldn't be even leaving their zone, but so desperate to go to a gym, which we obviously are all for, and it's great for your mental health, your physical and mental well-being. But then are we supposed to enforce this law? So we were put in some crazy positions, and we tried to do our best. I remember us having a conversation about it, that ultimately we had to try and follow the rules as best we could with the government, but also look after our members who have been paying members, who have been with us for years. So unfortunately, I'm sorry if there's anyone on this video that one of these people, but people travelling from zones they shouldn't have really been travelling from, and we could have a whole debate about that, but whether you agree or disagree. But we started having to check IDs to see where people were living, and it was mental. But I think, looking back, I think we dealt with it in the best way we could at the time, to protect members, to try and give as many people as possible the experience of our gym, and hopefully some of them still come today, whether it's for a day pass or monthly. But yeah, it was possibly something that you would never dream of